Hello, what's up? How are you, yeah? Everything okay? Super, yeah. Nice to meet you after a long time. Yeah, all right. In this video, we're going to review another interesting book, and the name of the book is called The Blink. Let me ask you a question before I move on to review the book. Let's say you're walking down the road, okay? You see there is a dog sitting on the road. And the moment you see that dog, you're thinking, a dog is not going to bite. I can just slowly go by the side. And then you cross the dog, and there is a lion sitting there. The moment you saw the lion, you're not even thinking. You started running where you came from. So, what makes you think that I have to run when you see a lion? And when you see a dog, what makes you think that the dog is not going to bite and I can escape? Now, that split second judgment, that split second decisions that you make is called the blink. So, that's what the author says. Blink is a book written by the author Malcolm Gladwell. So, what I'm going to do in this video is to take a moment to talk about the author, and then we'll talk about the content, and then we'll see how to um, take the benefits out of this book or the recommendations, what we can take it from the book itself. So before we move on there, I have to tell you that I have made a small notepad which has all the contents and the important points that I make, from the book itself. Before, what I used to do is I used to scribble on the book. I used to take notes on the back of the last page of the book where I'll write what are the important points or what are the important notes that I need to make a note of it. So later, what I thought is, it's not a good idea to scribble on the book. Someone told me that books are noble. You should not scribble on the book. Then I realized, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And what I did is I took a notepad and then I wrote down what are the important points and the suggestions and the recommendations or whatever takeaways from the book. I have noted it down in a notepad, which I have shared it in the link. So that I'm going to follow this from this video onwards. What I'm going to do is we will take all the important points and put it in a notepad. So this is a digital reference, not a physical reference. It's going to be a digital reference that I have it in my notepad, and I have put it on the Google Drive and I shared the link. So you can download it and see if you really want to know what are the important points that you can take away from the book. So that's something that I wanted to let you know. Now let's move on to the actual review of the book. So the author, Malcolm Gladwell. We've seen Malcolm Gladwell in a different book called The Outliers. If you're following my video, you should have watched Outliers, which I've did in the last couple of months, before a month. Yeah, November. So Malcolm Gladwell has written a lot of interesting books. He's a journalist. He started his career as a journalist. He's a Canadian author. And from journalist, he started writing more about psychology. And then he started moving towards human psychology, and he writes more about how human behavior happens and what are the strange behavior of successful people, all this. And one of his interesting book is Tipping Point. That's when he came out to the world, showing who is Malcolm Gladwell. That's one of his kickstart. And yeah, that's about the author, and this book was published in 2012. Blink. Yeah. And the power of thinking without thinking is the tagline for the book. Blink. Let's go back to the example that I gave to you. When I told you that there is a dog, you realize that the dog is not going to bite you. I'm assuming that you're not afraid of dogs. So you're walking down the road, and the same road you find a lion sitting there. The moment you see the lion, something inside your brain says that I have to save my life. I have to escape from the lion. What is that something? How does that even occur to you that you have to run away from the lion but not from the dogs? So that is split judgment. That split second is called a snap judgment, where you make decisions unconsciously. So this happens for us in most of the time. Maybe in a real life, you can apply it in your jobs. Maybe you're going for a job interview and you see there is a person who's taking interview, or maybe you're taking interview and you find this person would definitely fit into my company, and you would just take 5 to 10 seconds to decide that. There is an accurate number that says that you only have 7 seconds to decide that this person is really worth taking interview, or maybe I can hire him for my company. So you have very less time to take decisions unconsciously. That happens unconsciously without you even deciding. So the author goes in detail about how we make snap judgments, how we make thin slicing, which means that looking at a situation on a high level and taking a decision that this will work out or this will not work out. So that kind of That kind of information is all shared throughout this book. So that's an overview. Now I'm going to go in detail about every single chapter, but not in so detail, just to give you an overview of what the author talks about. So the author starts by talking about a statue called Kutos. I think it's not Kutos. Give me a second. It's called Kouros. Kouros. Kouros is one of the famous statue that's been, found in the museums in the UK or US. What they found is there are only 200 statues like that, and at one point there are some fake statues that has been created by the skull, by the people around the museum, telling that this is one of the valuable curios that we found, and they started selling it to them for millions of dollars. At one point, the museum owners started thinking, this is not right. How can this be real? This is one of the ancient uh, piece of antique, but how does people get that? So they started hiring some of the anthropologists and some of other people who can help them understand this is a real statue or it's a fake statue. And when they hire people, they take only 5 to 10 seconds to say this is fake. And when the museum owners ask, how did you identify this as fake? They don't know how to say that. They're telling one single word, which is intuitive repulsion, which means that they are telling unconsciously somewhere in the back of the mind that's telling that this is not real. And of course, we had this in our, our we call it gut feeling when we say that. That I really want to do something, but I don't know why, I don't know how, but I made it. Or we make decisions based on just few single things, and then we later realize, okay, yeah, that's worth it. So that first intuition, that first intuitive thought that comes to our mind is called the intuitive repulsion, where we make decision based on our past experience, or it's coming out of the blink, right? So that's where the author introduces us to what is blink and what is he going to talk about in the whole book. So he says that how first impression create a lasting impression, and how we make decisions based on high level things, based on little critical points that we look at life. And he also gives an idea about what is mind reading in the end of the book. And there is a one particular concept where he says thin slicing. Thin slicing is looking at a situation and not going through a complete detail about a situation, but you make decisions. For example, the author says there is a marriage consultant in US, and this guy, this doctor, what he does is whenever people comes to his hospital, he'll make them sit in a room and he'll turn on a video, and then he'll ask them some interesting questions. For one couple in this example, they asked a question: who loves dogs? The two couple. The lady loves the dog. The guy hates the dog. And now they started conversing there. The guy tells the dogs are always sticky, they always oily. I don't want to have dogs around my house. And the lady says dogs are really lovely. They are very good than human beings. And then they started arguing. There are a few words that the couple are using when they're arguing. And there is one particular sentence when the guy says, I know more than what you know. What do you think? So the author, after 15 minutes, he says, okay, that's fine. You can come out. And now the author says, not the author, the psychologist who's conducting the experiment, or making the marriage consultant, doing the marriage consultant, he says that, see, I've observed you for 15 minutes. I don't know anything about you. I don't know who you are, what's your background, what do you do for life. But what I observed in the past 15 minutes is that you both don't sync well, and that's because the words that you use, and that's because the way you converse, the way you sit to each other, how do you talk, how do you console each other, that shows that you should really hire a lawyer to divorce. Now that 15 minutes is enough, is what that particular doctor is telling, for me to decide whether the couple could last for a long time, or it's time for them to hire a lawyer. So that is thin slicing. Thin slicing is taking decisions, taking decisions based on simple critical things. Not You don't need enough amount of detail to make critical judgments. You only require very less amount of data to make critical decisions. You might have observed, maybe in your life, if you have went for a marriage. I don't think if you went for a marriage consultant, but maybe you went for a job interview. Yeah, you went for a job interview again. You see that this place is really worth it. I don't know why, but I really want to work with these people. You don't really worry about the money. You don't really worry about the place, but you really feel that some kind of gut feeling shows or tells you that I have to work for this company. That's an intuitive repulsion. That is also thin slicing, where you make decisions looking at little critical things, and then you decide, okay, I'm gonna do this, no matter what. So that is thin slicing. And he also talks about snap judgments, snap decisions, which I told you earlier, which happens when you see a dog, what happens, and when you see a lion, what happens. And he takes a couple of chapters to explain what is snap judgments. There is beautiful example about how a team in US, shot a guy, African American, who was standing in front of his home, and then the police officers, the cops around coming around the block, saw that this guy was standing in his place, but they don't know that this is his own house. And they started telling him, hey, can we talk? But this guy started panicking because he's is coming 1 o'clock in the afternoon just to see outside to get some air. But the police officers thought that he's a smuggler or he's a thief, and they shot him 41 shots around his body, and he was dead in the spot. Later on, after a lot of investigation, they found that the person who gave the shooting order was making snap judgments or snap decisions to shoot the guy because he's an African American, he's not white. So he thought this guy could be a thief, this guy could be a smuggler. So later on, that case become a very big issue, and his name is. Let me see what is his name. Okay, I have it here. Let me. Yes, his name is Amado Diallo. And this person was moving from Africa to America, and then he was living with their friends, and then he was shot dead because the police took a wrong decision looking at this outer appearance. So he delves in detail about how these cops have made a wrong decision because of their own snap judgments. And it could affect, yeah, snap judgments not only mean that it could help you, it can also cause damage to you. So that's pretty much everything about the book. And one particular takeaway that I've learned from the book is this: we usually look at things from our eyes and then we take decisions. But the author ends the book telling that you have to listen through your eyes, not just see through your eyes, listen through your eyes. When I say listen through your eyes, is to understand what is happening around your place, around your environment, and understand to get in detail about looking up minute things that's happening around you. And that's what the author calls as mind reading. We generally think that mind reading is just to get the actual content of what the other person is thinking, or to exactly replicate what the other person is telling. That's not mind reading. Mind reading is more than just thinking or getting the information from the other person's mind. The author says that mind reading is about understanding the other person. How do you see their face, and how do you understand from their body language, what do you feel? Or are they happy? Are they sad? Or are they really going through something? Just by asking a couple of questions, you can understand the state of a person's mind if you're really good in empathizing and understanding the other person. So it's a really interesting read, and I suggest this book for everyone, starting from people who work in a team, because when we work on team, we have this natural paradox. We take decisions right away. We start taking judgments just by looking at their appearance, just by the amount of money that they earn or amount of knowledge that they have. We make decisions. No, you can't argue, we make decisions just like that. So if you're working in a team, if you want to know how could first impression damage your life and how it could improve your life, this is a strong recommendation that I have for you. And second is to understand how our brain processes information the moment we see something. All right. So that's the second decision, second information. So everyone who works in a team should definitely read this book. And if you're someone who is also working closely with people who are stressed out, who are really don't know what to do with their life, this book can help you to understand what they feel, and you can maybe help them to come out of their situation. So that's pretty much everything that we have in this video. And thank you so much for watching. If you have stuck till this moment, thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow, not tomorrow, another week with another book review. See you after a week. Bye for now.